Have you ever wondered if what we know about human history is the whole truth? Ancient secrets may have been erased, but could they truly have been forgotten? The history we learn from textbooks is often just the record of the victors, those with power and influence across the centuries. But could the stories of gods, angels, giants, and great catastrophes told by ancient civilizations be true? Or have we overlooked an important part of our own origins? Imagine a world where humans were not just primitive hunters, but intelligent civilizations, capable of building monumental structures and creating knowledge far beyond our understanding. And that knowledge might have been hidden in the Book of Enoch, a forbidden text that contains secrets about our very origins. Welcome to The Truth Behind. Join us as we explore what official history dares not mention. These secrets not only change how we understand the past, but they could also transform how we see ourselves. Hit follow and embark on a journey to uncover humanity's true history. The Truth Behind.
When we look at the history of humankind, everything seems clear. From primitive hunters and gatherers, humans gradually evolved into advanced civilizations, building great structures, inventing calendars, and writing systems, and ushering in a new era for mankind. This is the story we've been taught in schools and read in textbooks. However, if you dig a little deeper, an entirely different history begins to emerge. A history that has been forgotten, censored, and suppressed. A story never told in official history books. And today, that is the story you are about to discover. In 1946, a groundbreaking discovery was made in the West Bank, near Qumran, a region famous for its ancient religious relics. A group of young shepherds stumbled upon the unimaginable. While throwing stones into a dark cave in the arid desert, the sound of a stone breaking inside sparked their curiosity. Little did these youths know that their curiosity would lead to an invaluable historical discovery. Inside the cave, they found a collection of clay jars containing ancient scrolls, documents that humanity had thought were lost forever. Although they didn't initially recognize the immense value of this find, these scrolls marked a pivotal moment in archaeological research. After these scrolls were discovered, archaeologists, historians, and treasure hunters continued to dig, uncovering additional fragments in 10 more caves, bringing the total number of scrolls to nearly 900. These scrolls became known as the Dead Sea Scrolls. And what's particularly significant is that among these scrolls were texts not recognized in the Bible, texts that had been forgotten and nearly erased from official history until they were rediscovered. One of these extraordinary books is the Book of Enoch. This is a mysterious text containing largely ancient religious knowledge that has been ignored or deliberately hidden by the Western world. The book is not just a religious work. It also opens a new door for us to understand the mysterious events of the past, events that the Bible itself dares not directly mention. The Book of Enoch is not a single book, but a collection divided into 5 main sections, which include the Book of the Watchers, the Book of Parables, the Astronomical Book, the Dream Visions, and the Epistle of Enoch. In total, This book contains about 100 chapters, recounting the story of the seventh patriarch from the Book of Genesis, Enoch, the father of Methuselah and grandfather of Noah. However, this is not the story of the famous ark you often hear about in the Bible. In fact, the Book of Enoch offers an entirely different perspective on the events leading up to the Great Flood, a story you've never heard before. In the Book of Enoch, the Watchers are depicted not just as angels, but as supernatural beings sent to earth to oversee humanity during an ancient period. These Watchers were not protective angels in the way we often imagine. Rather, they were fallen angels, beings with extraordinary powers who are believed to have descended to earth and interacted with humans. In an astonishing tale, they teach humanity the secrets of the universe, of technology, and even magical techniques that humanity was not yet ready to understand. There is an extremely fascinating aspect within the Book of Enoch. This book not only recounts the story of fallen angels and their connection with humanity, but it also reveals the intersections between ancient civilizations, unsolved mysteries of ancient catastrophes, and even links between humans and extraterrestrial beings. All of these details open up a narrative that the mainstream world has attempted to ignore. But recent discoveries have brought us closer to a truth that has never been revealed before. So, why was the Book of Enoch forgotten and removed from the Bible? The answer might lie in the fact that this book contains knowledge that challenges not only mainstream religious beliefs, but also completely disrupts everything we know about history, the past, and the future of humanity. The mysteries in the Book of Enoch could be the key to understanding that human history is not a straightforward tale, but rather a journey full of hidden secrets. And this story, one you may have never heard, is waiting for you to uncover in the Truth Behind video series. You've likely heard of the mysterious stories about legendary creatures in history. Tales that not only intrigue us, but also spark questions about their origins. One of the oldest legends involving Enoch, a legendary figure in many ancient religions and beliefs, describes a mystical world where gods and humans intersected, leading to the appearance of legendary creatures known as the Nephilim. These beings are not just a myth. They also open a door to uncover these extraordinary stories, which may very well be a part of true history. According to one of the earliest legends, Enoch is regarded as the founder of knowledge in astronomy and the first to compile the solar calendar. He was not only a prominent figure in ancient beliefs, but also played a special role in the story of the ancient gods. The Bene Elohim, or Sons of God, a group of gods numbering in the hundreds, are believed to have descended to earth at a mysterious time. We can link these gods to the fallen angels in many ancient traditions. These gods chose Mount Hermon, a sacred place for both the Canaanites and the Israelites, as the location to descend into the mortal realm. It is here that temples to famous gods such as Baal, Zeus, Helios, Pan, and many other goddesses were built. But are all these stories just myths? Could there really be a relationship between gods and humanity? The term watchers, those who do not sleep, always awake, and keep watch, was used to describe this group of gods. The relationship between the Watchers and humanity has always been mentioned in mythological tales, and it could reflect a special connection between humans and beings from other worlds. However, what's strange is that the Watchers did not maintain their original role as mere observers. Instead of merely standing by, they began to interact with the human world. And the next part of the story is the union between the Watchers and humans, particularly with women. This relationship led to the birth of strange creatures that we know today as the Nephilim, giant, wild monsters. The Nephilim were not only enormous, but also extremely dangerous, with extraordinary strength and the ability to harm humanity. They were described as man-eating creatures, constantly causing panic and threatening the human world. From here, the story becomes even more captivating and enigmatic. The powerful gods from the heavens decided that the actions of the Watchers were an affront to both God and humanity. According to the accounts in the Book of Enoch, the Watchers were punished and imprisoned in an underground prison beneath the earth. Enoch, who served as a mediator between the gods and the Watchers, became a key figure in reconciling the relationships between the worlds. However, Enoch's intervention could not prevent the wrath of God. According to the biblical story, the consequences of the union between fallen angels and humans were the appearance of hybrid creatures, the Nephilim. The book describes Enoch embarking on great journeys between heaven and earth, becoming a mediator, flying with the angels, and witnessing the very ends of the universe. Although Enoch tried to mediate, the punishment was inevitable. The result was the Great Flood, which wiped out everything and destroyed the Nephilim. Before the flood occurred, Enoch was taken up to heaven in a fiery chariot. An image that remains mysterious and continues to be discussed to this day. The legend of the Nephilim does not stop with the Book of Enoch. In the Bible, the Israelites encountered a land inhabited by Nephilim, giants with extraordinary strength, making the Israelites appear like grasshoppers in comparison. This suggests that the image of giant creatures did not exist in just one culture, but appeared across multiple cultures and belief systems worldwide. Many people today remain skeptical about the existence of the Nephilim, dismissing them as mere fiction, part of a myth without any real historical basis. However, if you examine stories about giants in different cultures, you will see that they may not just be the imagination of humanity. The famous explorer Marco Polo recorded stories about a race of giants living in Zanzibar, so strong that they could carry the weight of 4 normal men. In Tangier, Morocco, the people once believed that the founder of their city was a giant named Antaeus. The legend of giants is not lacking in Irish culture either, with the Giant's Causeway consisting of 40,000 massive stone columns that are believed to have been built by the giant Finn MacCool to cross the sea to Scotland and fight another giant. Greek mythology is also filled with stories of giant creatures, from the Titans to tales of monstrous giants. You've likely heard of the demigods, figures with extraordinary powers who carry both divine and human blood. But did you know that this concept is not merely the product of imagination? It has ancient mythological roots, where gods and humans once intermingled to create magnificent and mysterious beings. The great poet Pindar described heroes as a kind of unequal contest between the gods and humanity, where they fought, cooperated, and even interbred with each other. This leads us to an intriguing and mystical idea: divine experiments, hybridization between humans and animals, resulting in giant creatures or supernatural monsters. In the legendary stories of Atlantis, a mysterious ancient civilization, it is believed that the scientists of Atlantis conducted hybridization experiments between humans and animals, creating hybrid slaves. Could this be the truth? Or is it just another myth woven over time? It is surprising that many ancient civilizations across the world have preserved stories of strange experiments and mythical creatures. A prominent example is the stories from Babylon, the ancient civilization of the Middle East, where ancient records mention crossbreeding between species to create bizarre creatures. Did you know that the famous story of Noah and the Great Flood in the Old Testament actually originates from Babylonian and Sumerian myths? This opens a mysterious world where ancient civilizations not only created heroes but also engaged in supernatural experiments and bizarre crossbreeding. And behind these stories lies a terrifying event that occurred about 10,000 years ago, an event that completely altered the course of humanity. At the end of the Ice Age, as agriculture began to develop in the Middle East, human life entered a new era, transitioning from hunting and gathering to settled agricultural societies. But could this shift be related to the mysterious experiments conducted by gods or ancient civilizations? This question still leaves many people pondering. It's fascinating that the Book of Enoch has been referenced for centuries, yet is not found in the Bible. Interestingly, this book was once a significant part of many major religious traditions, including Christianity and Judaism. In fact, several sects even considered it part of the biblical canon. But here's an even more surprising fact. Some scholars believe the Book of Enoch might have inspired the Book of Genesis due to striking similarities and nearly identical stories. So, what happened? Why was this book removed from the Bible? And why is this question rarely discussed in today's world? Let's continue exploring. To answer why the Book of Enoch was excluded from the Bible, we must return to the early days following the death of Jesus Christ. At that time, the Bible as we know it today, with its 39 books in the Old Testament and 27 in the New Testament, hadn't yet been formed. In fact, during this period, there were countless Gospels and religious texts circulating, creating a diverse and rich treasure trove of Christian writings. As Christianity spread and the church was growing, it was crucial for the leaders to decide which texts would be considered sacred and which would bear the authority of God. Establishing an official canon was essential for maintaining unity within the community. In the Da Vinci Code, Dan Brown depicted the Council of Nicaea in the 4th century as a secret meeting where Emperor Constantine and powerful clergy decided on the official Bible according to some mysterious agenda. However, this is not historically accurate. The Council of Nicaea did not actually determine the Christian canon. And while we may not fault Dan Brown entirely, even the famous philosopher Voltaire held similar views in the 18th century. It's worth noting something significant. The key question is why religious leaders, holding great power, were the ones to decide what would be included in the official Bible. Why were those texts that opposed them labeled as heretical? And was this a deliberate effort to expand their own power? While there wasn't a specific council that decided the canon, the process spanned from the 1st century to the 4th century. Eventually, the Book of Enoch was excluded. But the question remains, could a book of such power really be forgotten? Or is there something more mysterious behind its exclusion? As we search for answers, we cannot overlook the other Gospels that were excluded from the Bible. For instance, the Gospel of Peter, discovered in Egypt in 1886, tells a strange story of the resurrected Jesus, leaving the tomb with the appearance of 2 giant angels and a floating cross in the air. Or the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, where Mary is not only an important disciple, but also the lover of Jesus and possibly his wife. In this Gospel, Peter questions why they should listen to a woman like Mary, and Matthew responds that if the Savior has made her worthy, then who has the right to reject her? Despite being censored and forgotten, the Book of Enoch has never truly disappeared. There is something profound and mysterious in its stories. Stories that are unlike anything we have ever known. Whether or not it became part of the Bible, the ancient Greeks believed that Enoch and the divine wisdom god Hermes were one and the same. But who exactly was Enoch? In ancient gemology and esoteric traditions, Enoch was believed to be the king who ruled over humanity for exactly 243 years, full of wisdom, sought after by the entire world for his knowledge. The ancient Egyptians thought of Enoch as the builder of the Great Pyramids. According to the geographer and historian Taghi ad-Din Ahmad, Enoch was known by many names: Saurith, Hermes, Idris, and Enoch. For the Arabs, Idris means the wise one or the ancestor. In Jewish and Christian theology, Enoch is regarded as the great ancestor before the Great Flood, the father of Methuselah, who lived to be 969 years old according to the Bible. In Genesis, Enoch is only briefly mentioned in 5 short verses. Enoch walked with God, then he was no more, because God took him away. There is no further explanation, and he disappears suddenly. The name Enoch in Hebrew means the enlightened one or the initiated. This enlightened figure left behind a profound intellectual legacy that is hard to forget. The question of why Enoch, despite having many different names, appears in the traditions of so many ancient civilizations is both intriguing and thought-provoking. To find the answer, we need to travel back to even earlier periods, long before Greece, Egypt, or Babylon, even before ancient Sumer. According to Sumerian texts, the earth was once visited by a group of supernatural beings from a very ancient time. These beings are described in Sumerian legend in ways that closely resemble the Watchers in the Book of Enoch. However, instead of calling them Watchers, the Sumerians referred to these beings as the Anunnaki, meaning those who came from the heavens. The Anunnaki in Sumerian tradition are considered to be gods with supernatural powers. And according to modern researchers like Zechariah Sitchin and Erich von Däniken, they may even represent an extraterrestrial race that visited Earth in the distant past. Interestingly, the Sumerian stories about the Anunnaki have many similarities to what is described in the Book of Enoch, particularly regarding the relationship between these beings and humanity. Just like the Watchers in the Book of Enoch, the Anunnaki are said to have begun interbreeding with humans. And the result of this process was the creation of a new race known as the Nephilim, hybrid beings between the divine and human. This story also has another interesting parallel to the Book of Enoch. Just as the gods in the Book of Enoch became enraged by the corruption of humanity and decided to cause a great flood to wipe out mankind, the Anunnaki in Sumerian mythology were said to have done the same. This is a familiar story, but in each culture, it is told in a different way, with unique details and contexts. Despite the differences in how the story is told, the major common themes are the supernatural beings, the interbreeding between gods and humans, and the Great Flood, all of which reflect a strange and profound connection between ancient civilizations and their symbolic stories about creation, sin, and destruction. So, the question arises, are these stories not merely myths, but actually contain memories, records of great events from the past that transcend time and space? As you may recall, what matters is not the form, but the content. This could be the only way for us to approach the true messages about the nature of ourselves. Could the Book of Enoch and similar traditions simply be a reenactment of the ancient story of the Anunnaki from the Sumerians? Or, over thousands of years, has this story gradually transformed and evolved into new forms, like an old coat being remade into something new? Notably, the Book of Enoch is written in the first person, and the author continuously asserts his authorship, as if he feared that future interpreters would not understand what he intended to convey. For example, in the first month of the 300th year, the 165th year, on the first day of the first month, Enoch writes, "I was in my house alone when two giants appeared before me, beings I had never seen on earth." If we look at the agricultural revolution, which began around 10,000 BCE, when humans transitioned from a hunter-gatherer lifestyle to agricultural farming and settlement, we see an intriguing picture. By 9500 BCE, The region now known as Kurdistan was cultivating grains, peas, lentils, and domesticating goats and sheep. Interestingly, the Kurds claim to be descendants of the children of Jinn, meaning spirits. Could this be an ancient cultural mark of the interbreeding between the Anunnaki and human women? The ancient Near East, known as the cradle of civilization, witnessed the birth of the first city-states in Mesopotamia. The Sumerians and Akkadians, the earliest inhabitants of the area, developed writing, studied astronomy, and built libraries. The Babylonians and Assyrians followed in their footsteps. In the myths of these civilizations, there are always stories of gods descending from the heavens to teach humanity the arts and great knowledge. Another example in the Book of Enoch describes the mysteries of thunder and lightning, leading many to believe this passage alludes to phenomena of energy and electricity. When talking about energy and electricity, one cannot help but mention Nikola Tesla, who once said, "If you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration." It may sound strange or unbelievable that stories about the Watchers, Anunnaki, and the Nephilim giants have been forgotten, ignored, or even deliberately erased from the memories of ancient civilizations. The Book of Enoch, along with the Gospel of Mary and the Gospel of Thomas, was excluded from the biblical canon. However, when we consider how these stories could entirely change our understanding of human history, offering a fresh perspective or resurrecting a long-forgotten view of our true nature, the fact that they were removed from the canon may not be so surprising. However, these stories were not completely erased. If we consider one of the most famous stories humanity has ever known, the story of Adam, Eve, and the Garden of Eden, there is something interesting to note. If we do not read the story literally or philosophically, but instead view it as a metaphor, a symbol, we might see that God created Adam to oversee earth, just as the gods and the Watchers did in the Book of Enoch. From Adam's rib, God created Eve. Adam and Eve then reproduce, symbolizing the interbreeding between the Watchers and human women. In the Garden of Eden, Adam and Eve could eat whatever they wanted except the fruit from the tree of knowledge. Of course, they could not resist temptation and ate the forbidden fruit from the tree of knowledge, which symbolizes the advanced knowledge and technology brought to humanity by the Watchers. Things that might have been beyond the understanding and spiritual development of humanity at that time. When Adam and Eve ate from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, they were said to have become self-aware. Their first awareness was of their naked bodies. They hastily covered themselves as they had begun to realize what is called the serpent power, or Kundalini, which can be awakened through intercourse and sexual acts not intended for reproduction. Then, they ate from the tree of life, which opened the cycle of birth, life, death, and rebirth, as well as the reincarnation of the human soul in the physical world. When we read the story of Adam and Eve in this way, it becomes easy to notice the similarities between it, the Book of Enoch, and other ancient texts. And perhaps that was the intent of those who wrote this story. They might have been simply recounting the events of the Book of Enoch in a distinctive way, recreating the ancient Sumerian story of the Anunnaki. Like many other religions and cultures, they skillfully embedded this crucial part of human history into their sacred texts in metaphorical form, so that ancient records could survive through time. And although in a different form, they continue to remind us of what happened, so that one day we may remember our own history, not in the typical way humans perceive it, but through a greater thread of connection to life and the universe. So, what is human history? Is it the pages that have been officially approved? Or is it a much larger, deeper story? A story buried in the shadows of time. Perhaps the answers have always been right in front of us, waiting to be seen from a different perspective. When we begin to question, not just accept what has been written in books, but open ourselves to new viewpoints, to hidden truths, we may uncover crucial pieces of ourselves, of history, and of this universe. We are not merely creatures passing through time. We are fragments of a long chain in a grand narrative. And perhaps, by sharing these thoughts, by provoking questions without answers, we are discovering the deeper parts of ourselves, of humanity, and of the world around us. Each question is a step in the journey of exploration. Each answer is a puzzle piece that brings us closer to unveiling the mysteries of history. Let us never stop searching, never stop reflecting, and never stop sharing. For only when we exchange ideas, when we reawaken our awareness of the past, can we shape the future. Thank you for joining us on this journey. We look forward to meeting you again in the next chapters as we continue to open new doors and explore what lies hidden in the flow of time.